Hello guys and welcome to Almost Solitaire. Today we gonna play another scenario. It's the third one out of four. We have played two already from the game Kalisz 1706 by Taktyka Strategia. It's a Polish publisher. So today we are playing the Battle of Fraustadt, which took place, well, this is the 13th of February 1706, which is according to the Gregorian calendar, I believe. The Swedish calendar says the 3rd of February, and I think the Julian calendar says the 2nd of February. So yeah, I'm used to the Swedish calendar in this sense. I always refer to the 3rd of February. In case I do that, you know why. Anyway, this is an interesting battle and quite a large battle, at least in the terms of the Polish campaign here, that Charles has been pursuing for a few years now. This is 1706 now, and you remember he went into Poland already, I think it was 1702, and we had this quite famous battle called the Battle of Kalisz. It's not featured in this game, but I have other games with that battle that we will look at some point, I'm sure. Anyway, I have a few books about this topic, and one book is really dedicated just to this battle in Swedish, but it's interesting. I wanted just to give you some background of the battle here from this book by using some maps here, because it's interesting. So we have a few armies here in play. So if you look at the map here, we have Poland here, right? We have Saxony over here. We have this is kind of today's Lithuania over here, right? We can see the southern part of Sweden here. So we have Charles XII with the Swedish main army close to Warsaw at this point of time. We have a big Russian army over here. This is the main Russian army under Ogilvy. We also have August II here with a big cavalry corps of the Saxons over in Grodno. Here in Saxony we have von der Schulenburg with the main Saxon army. We also have a smaller Swedish army down over here by Levenhaupt, or led by Levenhaupt. He's in Riga, and we have some other smaller detachments around in Poland, as you can see here, all on the Saxon-Polish side. Now, the coalition of Russians and Saxons, they wanted to somehow come up with a plan to crush Charles XII here at some point, but they know he's a dangerous guy and his army is really powerful, so they need to come up with a cunning plan how to do it. And there was some plans thrown out that they would, attack from two directions here, but there was some worries. How about Levenhaupt Swedish attachment here? What if they march down and attack the rear of the Russian army over here and all that? So in essence, the plan that they agreed on was to send up one detachment under General Sheremetyev here to control Levenhaupt. The Russian main army would kind of provoke the Swedish army to march eastwards, and the plan was to hold out here until Schulenburg could arrive and smash the Swedish army in the rear. So the plan was to trap the main Swedish army between the Russian army and the Saxon army, and then crush them in between them, right? That was the plan. There was some things that should happen before that, though. First, we have this detachment of Rensköld, and he's the guy you will see in this battle. He has about, not really even 10,000 men, but I think it's like 9,500 men in this corps. And Schulenburg's main army, in about 20,000 men, something like that, they had a big problem though. They were short of cavalry. So they needed, the plan was that August II would join with him, and they combined would be a really strong army, both in infantry and cavalry. So that was the plan. But Schulenburg wanted, of course, to march. This is a long way to march to appear in the rear of Charles XII, and the Russians would need to hold out against Charles XII before Schulenburg could arrive. So Reinscheld, he marched westwards, pretty close to the border here. And Schulenburg were also marching towards him. Now we're getting close to the real battle. By the way, in the map here you can see Fraustadt. There's a small dot just, southwest of the Swedish detachment of Reinscheld there, or corps. So pretty much both these armies were closing in into each other. Now, Schulenburg, of course, he knew about all the Swedish successes in the previous years and was quite wary. He didn't want to fight on the terms of the Swedes here. So when he learned that Reinscheld was marching towards him, he pretty much set up his army in a good defensive position where he could use his infantry and his numbers to his side. He didn't want to fight on where the Swedish cavalry could hit them. So he had a good, strong position. I think it was on a hill and all that, right? Reinscheld, who at that point were really close, actually in attack range, he saw the situation. He was, I think I read that he was spying from a church tower against Saxon movements and positions. And one thing was clear: he could not just charge. That would be a catastrophe for the Swedish army, because the Saxon positions were just too strong. So he ordered his men kind of to fall back towards Fraustadt. They were already close to the border here, but he sent his army backwards again. Schulenburg sent some scouts over, checking out what the Swedes were doing, and they found out that they had abandoned their camps and were marching hastily eastwards. Schulenburg, he tried to, think about what was happening here, and he came to the conclusion that Reinscheld just has realized he's in a bad position. The odds is like kind of 2-1 in favor of the Saxons in manpower. So he thought Reinscheld has started to retreat towards, maybe to join the main army here. At least it was retreating eastwards. So Schulenburg broke up his camp and wanted to slowly pursue or shadow Reinscheld's army. So he did. So they marched eastwards, and Reinscheld, he arranged for all of these, these signs for Schulenburg to think that he was on a full retreat, a hasty retreat towards the east. So Schulenburg probably paced up his tempo a bit to follow. Okay, then when Schulenburg arrived close to Fraustadt, he got some alarming news. He heard that Reinscheld has done an 180-degree turn and was marching towards him, actually, and not retreating. And probably he had some cold sweat at that time, because he knew, Reinscheld is gonna attack. So he had to hastily find some ground where he could defend now against the Swedish onslaught. The thing was, though, he was now down on a big plain, which was good terrain for the cavalry. As I said, Reinscheld has cavalry superiority here. So he had managed to maneuver all these happenings so he could fight on his terms. Also, there is a kind of a swampy ground here, but it's it's frozen. We are in February, so it's really good for cavalry to attack on these plains here. So Reinhold, he set up his army. I actually have an order for battle, and let's see where that page is. I think yeah, here it is. I put that marker here. So here we see the setup. So Schulenburg, he had to set up his army in the best way he could on this plain. So he found that there was two villages close to each other. It was the village of Rörsdorf and Geiersdorf. So he thought he could use those as anchors for both of his flanks, protecting his infantry flanks, because he put his infantry then in the center, and as you can see, it became a bit cramped here. So it's a kind of a, I don't know what to call it, but kind of the line goes in steps here, and there's also a second line of infantry over here. The cavalry he put behind some, behind the village and all that, so he knew that if the Swedish cavalry would arrive, they kind of would get disrupted by these built-up areas here. Same here. Here's also a lake that he deployed behind, and that's a thing of that's a bit of an issue that we will look at in a moment on the game map actually. So that's the best we could do, and I think that's kind of a good solution by Schulenburg. You could not blame him for that. This is a good position with good anchors for the infantry. Bad thing was they were kind of cramped, and he had to quite hastily set up his lines because Reinhold was coming in a fast pace to array for battle here. Also, by the way, they put, if you can see the small X's here on the front of the Saxon army, that's Cheval de Frise, these anti-cavalry kind of spike log things. So he had prepared his whole line so they could not be charged by cavalry just like that. So another interesting thing, you can see that we have some units in green and some units in red. This is actually a Russian corps kind of attached to the Saxon army. And for this battle, when he set up his army, he set up his Russian corps on the left-hand flank under Goltz. We have seen him in a previous battle, if you remember. He also gave orders for the Russians to turn the uniform jackets or coats inside out, because he was afraid of that when Swedes saw that there were Russians on his left flank, they would concentrate their attacks here, because he thought this would be the weak point of the Saxon army. So he ordered them to turn their coats inside out, because they had red color in the inside of the coats. So they would look like Saxons. So it would look like the whole line was made of Saxon infantry. So he did that. The Swedes arrayed for battle. As you can see, they mixed their infantry and cavalry pretty much in their line, not the traditional one with all the cavalry on the flanks. He had some regiments of cavalry in between here, and also some, I think these are Pomerian dragoons. That's kind of a reserve line, because an important thing is you have 2-to-1 in odds for the Saxons. So the Swedes had to stretch out their line. They couldn't afford to have two lines of infantry, because they didn't really have that amount of men. So they had to attack in one line only. As you can see here, the Saxons have a reserve line behind. With these are battalions, so reserve battalions behind their lines. So the Swedish attack started, and the flanks were kind of ahead of the center. I think Renchel's plan was to attack on an even pace on the whole line, but the cavalry got eager, they attacked. So there was some fighting happening on the flanks. This frozen lake caused some problems for the Swedes. The horses were falling and they were very slippery here, so it was also told that the Saxon cavalry, here's the elite by the way, they just laughed at the Swedish horsemen here, you know, falling on the ice. But they went up, managed to array themselves again and charged in. So hard battle happening on the flanks already. We also have many recruits on the Saxon side, so not that battle-hardened troops over here on the cavalry flanks. Meanwhile, the infantry were marching as fast as they could against the center. We have lots of cannons here on the front line, so they were, you know, pounding the Swedish line with artillery fire as well, but they prevailed. They marched forward. Eventually, the flanks started to waver for the Saxons and also became a rout. They couldn't stand the attack of the Swedes cavalry in the long run, so they started to back, and that was leaving the flanks of the infantry kind of vulnerable for attacks from them. So especially here on the Russian side, when Krasov's cavalry wing swept inwards, there was some panic happening in the Russian lines. They also, I mean, the Saxons were told to fire their muskets only when the Swedish were really close, but there was some early firing happening. I heard that some Russian grenadiers opened fire in a very long range. It was kind of ineffective in that way. So the Swedish infantry caught up here. It's told that they put their muskets on these cheval de frise, you know, as a kind of something to, you know, stabilize your weapon upon, and then fired into the lines of the Russians and Saxons. So full panic starting to happen, especially on the left flank here. The Swedish were pouring in. On the right-hand flank, the Saxons had a bit more success, at least in the infantry side. And we have the elite infantry here. We have the Saxon Guards. We have I think it's a French Grenadier battalion here. Let's see. Yeah, Joyce, it says here. I think it's said Malar. Yeah, I think it's the name of the leader. Let's see here. Malarac, something like that. It's an abbreviation, but these are French. These two are French grenadiers, for instance. And here with the Saxon Guards, we have Polish Guards, Saxon Guards. So this flank is really strong. So they have a hard time to break through here, and I think even the Saxon Guards managed to do a countercharge at some point later in the battle. And there was also some cavalry left here fighting, but this flank has pretty much crumbled. Now, eventually, also the center started to back on the Saxon side. So the Saxons had a hard time to defend their right flank. I think they actually created a big square here of many battalions, and they took charge after charge, but they started to kind of backing in an ordered way, kind of retreating in a square formation here towards Fraustadt. Here's the main road towards Fraustadt, by the way. So Fraustadt will be just outside of the map over here. But eventually the whole line crumbled and it became a full rout. It's really crazy. And the Swedish cavalry, well, the right-hand cavalry started to rout for real now on the Saxon side. the Swedes were pursuing. It would have been better maybe for the Swedes if they could hold up here and also participate in the attacks on the infantry, but they went off the on pursuing these guys. They came back later, of course, but at this crucial moment, the Swedish cavalry on the Swedish left flank, they were off. So, I mean, this square formation didn't really hold, so all the Saxon infantry just started to rush backwards, and the Russians. And the Swedes just pursued them, hacked them down in thousands. So there were, I think I read that there was kind of 7,000 casualties on the Saxon side here. And if you think that the whole army is about 20,000, that's a catastrophe. Another 7,000 were taken prisoner, and yeah, so not many men could escape this battle. Probably some cavalry did. And there's also kind of a sad story in the end here, when they have taken the Russians as prisoners, many of them, hundreds of them. It said that they brought them into a kind of a certain place behind the lines and just executed them by firing into the mass of Russians who had given up, and already threw their muskets into the ground. So that's also why we have this big number of casualties on the Saxon-Russian side, because of these pretty much executions happening in the end. Now, so basically, the result of this was, of course, a huge Swedish victory. It was even compared in Sweden to, Hannibal's success at Cannae, when he did a double envelopment on the Roman legions there. And it's not really true. It's almost true, but the Swedish left-hand flank, they didn't really do the envelopment here. They went off pursuing the Saxon cavalry, so the envelopment was done from pretty much one side. But I think in numbers and the magnitude of this catastrophe was kind of the same, actually, because pretty much the Saxon army ceased to exist at this point, at least for the infantry. They had this, as I told you earlier, this big cavalry corps of August II, who didn't manage to join up with Schulenburg before this battle happened. Had that happened, then we would have even out the cavalry numbers here, and that would be a different story. I think then the Saxons would have liked to fight the battle here, actually, on a plain. So that's it. So the Saxon-Russian plans for catching the Swedes between them, of course, failed greatly by this defeat. Yeah, I think that might be enough for the info about this battle. So let's look at the battle setup and rules themselves. Okay, so let's just start with checking the lines here, the setup. So if we start with the Saxon one, we have the leader of the army here, Schulenburg, together with an infantry unit. So we have the big infantry line here in the center, as it should be. And as you can note, we have a lot of artillery also here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 light artillery batteries and 1 heavy artillery battery, the one noted with a C over here. Then we have the cavalry on the flanks. It's a bit of a scattered setup. So we have some cuirassiers here, and we have dragoons, Dünwald, Fleming, and Jordan's dragoons regiments here. On the left-hand side and right-hand side, we have Wrangels together with Plötz, and we have Furstenburg, Brandenburg. Those are all dragoons, and then we have cuirassier at the Life Regiment of Saxony there. In the center we can see the green units. They are the Russians, led by Gults. And then we have different colors, white, brown, some yellowish ones. I'm really sure why they are different colors, since they are all pretty much Saxons, but well, I can see some logic in it. I mean, the white are standard Saxons. I think these olive or green ones are kind of guards units, and these guys are the French grenadiers I talked about. Then we have also this color. I'm not sure why these units are in a different colors than the other Saxons. Not sure. They have no other kind of unit insignia either. It's a Saxony symbol there. These guys have the Russian ones. Anyway, mostly Saxons over here, some kind of mercenaries, the French. Another interesting thing is that we have these Cheval de Frise hexes here as well, as you can see along the front line, also on the Russian lines. So these have some terrain effects, and this also, if cavalry attacks through such an hex side, they will halve their strength points. So that's basically it. We have a few leaders as well. We have Dünewald, Seidler, Drost, then Schulenburg himself, and as I said, Plötz over here on the right hand side. The Swedish are... Oh, I just want to mention one thing about the setup. I mean, all in all, it looks okay to me, but there's one or two things I want to just bring up that I think is a historical. First of all, as I told you, the infantry line was anchored between these two villages, right? We have Rördorf and Geiersdorf over here. And well, there are some built up areas here on the Russian left flank, so I think that's kind of okay, even though I think most of the buildings are over here. But the right hand flank is the one I'm a bit questioning here, because this was very solidly anchored against Geiersdorf. And Geiersdorf is also many hexes kind of spread out here, but here's the main cluster of village hexes with also the name here. So I think this one would be actually here. Geiersdorf should be here where the Saxon infantry line ends, because they had this they ended the line there, and they even had some troops back here facing towards the village in case the Swedish would come around. So that's one thing I'm a bit confused about the map board setup. The second thing, also on the right hand flank, is that when I read some accounts about this battle, it said that the Saxon right hand cavalry deployed behind this lake. It's a frozen lake, but they still got some defensive benefit of this, because when the Swedish cavalry charged over this lake, it was very slippery, so many horses fell, and the horsemen fell off their horses and all that. It's even said that the Saxon cavalrymen laughed at them because they were just falling all the way here and all that, and kind of looked a bit ridiculous, right? But the Swedish, as I said previously, I believe, managed to organize themselves and pushed home that charge eventually. So I think actually the Saxons should be set up here. Now, one thing I noticed on the map, that these are not really hexes. So probably the designer's idea is that you cannot enter these hexes. So I'm probably going to play that, even though I wanted to play this more like a frozen lake hexes actually. But instead they have put the Saxon right hand flank very long forward. So yeah, but I'll go with that. The other thing I'm wondering about is the terrain here. If you look at the charts, these are in Polish. Polish is not my strong language, but yeah, here we go. Yeah, here are the terrain charts. So I checked it up. So this is clear. This is road. This is the freezing horse. I mean these hexes, right? The defensive measures there. Then we have this one, which I think is woods. Then we have built up areas. We have slopes. We don't have any slopes in this map. Then we have stream and river. Okay, so the thing I've noticed here, they have not mentioned these swamp hexes. I'm not sure how to handle those because I haven't seen anything in the scenario rules either. So I'm not sure. This I'm gonna at least. It's not a river; it's more a stream. So this will be a stream at least when I game it now. That's basically it for that. So I'm gonna just, because this is frozen, the ground is frozen. So I have read that the Swedish cavalry had some difficulties maneuvering in these swamps during the battle, but since it's not mentioned anywhere, I will consider this as clear hexes. What else? Is there anything about the setup? Let's see if we can find those. That's we have seen that already, right? Here we go. I think it's called, this is Fraustadt, called Wschowa in Polish. Well, about the setup and all that, there are a few things that are a bit strange or not too clear. For once, this is called Lützenburg. I know this guy, his name was Lützelburg. I didn't find any counter for him, but on the other hand, I know that Plötz was present on the right-hand flank during the battle, so I have instead put him there as the leader. On the Swedish side, we have some units or regiments consisting of several units. Usually there are 4 units per regiment. Like this Södermanland, we have 4 hexes, setup hexes, right? So we have 4 units. Some of them only have, like Kronoberg here, we have 2, but there's still 4 different units in the counter mix with some different stats actually, because we have pikemen as well. And this doesn't state, should these be the pikemen or musketeers, or what should these be? So I have just kind of randomly picked some units from that regiment. Yeah, so I think that's it. So victory conditions. So leaders, I think these are leaders. They will bring 6 victory banners if they are eliminated. Eliminated units will give 1 victory point for both sides. So same victory points for both sides, just killing, enemy troops basically. Then we have initiative. That's the Swedish who got it, meaning we always play Swedish first in return. The morale track will be set to 1 on the Swedish side from the start, so I have put it there on the 1 spot. Then the age, this is just referring to the setup where there are age, we need one of these Spanish or a Frisian horse that we put up. And this also just in the setup denoting some cavalry. Here we go. So the turn track goes to 20 turns, but it says here you play 13 turns, and if you kind of both players agree, it can be extended. So it can be extended up to 20 turns, but I will probably just play the 13 turns and then call it a game, unless it's already decided before that, of course. So that's the special rules about this game. Don't think there's anything else needed to bring up. Let's see. Bring the chars up. So by that, I think we are ready to start the game, really. And I think I'm gonna play the first turn in this session. We probably don't gonna see any battles yet. Maybe on the cavalry wing over there, I'm not sure. So I'm gonna start the game proper next time when the lines are more, you know, heading towards each other. I mean, we might see some cavalry clash now in turn 1, but let's see, I'm not sure. But I don't think we will see any artillery fire or anything like that yet, because these lights have a range of 3, this heavy battery has a range of 4, so not super long. So let's see, I will just start then, and we'll see what happens. I'll start with the cavalry over here. We have some light cavalry here. As you can see, these guys have a bit less good stats as compared to ordinary cavalry. They cannot fire, and they have only a morale of 7, which has an impact in close combat. But on the other hand, they have a movement rating of 8, which is cool. But I think I'm just gonna do it the Swedish way, just go, you know, maybe you've heard about the gå på doctrine that the Swedish use. They just, you know, hastily advance towards the enemy line, pretty much fire one volley and then attack with pikes and bayonets and swords. And I'm gonna go with that. So pretty much the cavalry on the flanks will engage here, same here. By the way, looking at the strength, I mean, we have at least as many cavalry here and here towards the Swedish, and pretty much of the same quality, so it's going to be a very even cavalry fight, I believe. But let's see. So let's start here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Cavalry needs to pay 1 movement point for each. I might even do it a bit differently. They need to pay 1 movement point per each rotation you do or pivot you do. Infantry only pay 1, and then they can change facing towards any hex side. So let's see, I will go like this instead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like that. Then we have some Bremish dragoons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I will just bring up these guys here. Then we have these are the, it says Libe regiment. These are, I think these are kind of guard dragoons of the Swedes. We have another one beneath Krasov, who is the cavalry leader on this flank. But they are pretty much like ordinary dragoons, 80 morale and then can fire. Okay, let's see now. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I'm gonna keep the line a bit together. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Here we go. Then we have some infantry here. I think I will move those out of the way and then bring in more cavalry to the flank. So the infantry will try to engage with the Russians here. This is Närke Värmland's regiment. We have 4 units of those. As you can see, 3 of those are muskets and 1 pike who cannot fire, but they have 3 in strength points instead, so they are a bit stronger in close combat. A nice thing with these are that you have these pikemen, right? I hope you can see the symbol or the silhouette here of the soldier. Then we have from the same regiment the musketeers, and they also added 1, you know, grenadier symbol here. I think that's really cool. They have the same stats, so there's no difference here between grenadiers and ordinary musketeers, though. Okay, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. They're just gonna go in a cluster here. And these guys will just ride around here to engage with also these guys. So this is Northern Scania Cavalry Regiment. So these are not dragoons, these are cavalry proper. So they have no fire capability, but they have a morale of 9. So they're a bit better in close combat. Let's see now. They go 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think I do like that. Because these might engage me now in a counter charge. What do we have here? Okay, we have still one of these same regiment here, together with Reinhusköld himself. This is the army commander of the Swedes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Could go one more, but I think I'll stay here. We have some reserve. You can see 3 cavalry units over there in the back. These guys are Pomeranian dragoons. So I'm gonna bring these guys forward as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm gonna bring these guys also to the flank. 1, 2. Let's wait with that guy because we're gonna move off some infantry first. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the same regiment. 1, 2, 3, 4. And they have Mardefeld as their commander with the Södermanland regiment. Here we have Kronoberg regiment, or parts of it. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we have Westmanland regiment. 4 units of them. So we have pikemen here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4. These guys could actually fire now. I think I'm gonna do that. So I'm gonna place the 4 marker here and then do a artillery fire against this musketeer. So let's see now. We have this is light, this is heavy artillery. We have a strength of 2 and we have a range of 4. So I need to roll a 9 or more to hit. That's a 7, so that's a miss. I think this means 1 hit and morale check. I need to check what this really means actually, but if there's an R, I think they get 1 hit and they're also put in this dispersed box for a while. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm still on range 4, so these can't fire twice on the same range. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I can move these guys. And on road, the cavalry only pays half movement point per hex. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 4.5, 5.5, 6. Let's go like that. Here we also have some cavalry. I'm not sure I want to bring them in the center. We could maybe keep this as a reserve, but this is good cavalry. These are Finnish Nyland Cavalry Regiment. 9 in morale, these are really good cavalry. Maybe we need that in a flank fight. Could be, actually. So I wonder what to do with those guys. We have very little troops who could engage the Saxon right-hand flank now, which are the strong ones. So maybe we should keep these guys in reserve. If these Saxons come out from their defensive line to counterattack me, then I can charge them with cavalry. So I'm gonna bring these guys forward. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is also cavalry. So we're gonna probably engage here now. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think I'll place myself there. If I go here, I could be counterattacked by 3 units. So I'm gonna go here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Infantry have only a range of 1, so they cannot fire at me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Here's an interesting one. Beneath Hummerhjelm was this guy's name. This is named Slachta in the Polish version of the game here now. So I tried to figure out what this is, but I think this is actually, there was a unit called Adelsfanan in Swedish, and that means kind of nobleman's banner or something like that. So I think this is it. It's a cool one. They can't fire, but they also is one of these 9 morale things. So very, good charging cavalry. So I'm going to bring them forward to us here as well. 1, 2. These can also go 8. That's pretty hefty. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's bring them as a bit, kind of a reserve there back in that second line, ready for the next charge. So we have still a Nyland cavalry to move. So I'm gonna place myself around the Westmanland regiment here just to keep them secure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Something like that. I'm out of range of the light artillery. So I think that's it. So no battle on turn 1. I could have gone here, and attacked, but I'll leave that for turn 2. I think that's going to be enough. It could also be that the Saxons charge me now and we can counter-charge them. So I think that was the Swedish turn 1. Nothing else there. So let's do also the Saxon turn 1. So I'm gonna put my cavalry into a line here so I can be ready to meet the Swedish cavalry. So I'm gonna keep these guys here holding the line against, keeping the flank in our hands. So I'm gonna go 1, 2. Thing is, should I engage the light cavalry? But there are some Bremish dragoons coming afterwards, so maybe I should just keep the line. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And these guys go 1, 2, 3. Oh, how much was that for cavalry? That's 3 points. 6, 7, or 6.5. I don't know what this would be actually. Let me see now. 1, 2, 3, 6. I think I'm gonna go 7 like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So these gonna be the flanking troops eventually. So I have a kind of a nice line over here. I think I'm gonna bring up these infantry here. 1, 2, 3, ready to fire, engage, and plug the gap here. These cannot fire. Actually, these guys should have fired first of all in the face. So I'm gonna do a fire here now, and I'm gonna target this guy now. It's still on a 4 range, so I needed a 9 to hit, so we didn't. Any other movement? I don't think I'm gonna move any infantry. I think I might though move up some. I have some leaders not attached to units. These guys have, most, or actually all of the Saxon leaders are 0-point leaders, so they don't give any benefit in battle. But they have 2 good things. They can bring back units that are dispersed, and they also hinder troops from being dispersed that they are stacked with. So I'm gonna actually stack them with this heavy cavalry here, and Drost will also go to the stack with the artillery over here. The others I think have already attached to troops, yes. So here then, should we attack the Swedes now? I think we could. So I'm gonna go 1, 2. Okay, so here is actually these two could countercharge. I think I do it with 1. So these guys will countercharge because I'm gonna leave these guys for countercharging these guys. So we have a battle coming up. You resolve that right away. So we have these Scanian dragoons against the Libe regiment. The thing is, the Scanians can fire, which these guys can't. So we're going to do a fire first, the cavalry fire. So we're going to go to this table. We have 2 in... hold on. Okay, so I have 2 in strength. I need to roll an 8 or more to hit them. And that's a 6. So that's a hit, miss, sorry. It's not enough. Then we have the battle itself. So we have 2 strength points against 2, so that's 1 against 1. But actually, these guys have 1 better morale. This has a morale of 9, but these have a morale of 8. So that would give a column shift to the benefit of the Saxons. But we also have this one. If the Swedes are attacking, which is the case here because they're countercharging, they get 1 column shift in their favor, if you can see here. So it evens out. So it's going to be a 1-to-1 odds. That's a 7 in 1-to-1, meaning both sides take a hit. Since there's no retreat, we don't gonna check morale. It's only losses. So these are entangled in battle here. Heavy fighting happening. Next one. 1, 2. We countercharge with Verden against Brandenburg, or yeah, I think that's Brandenburg. So we have 2 fires to do because these are both dragoons. Swedish fire first. A 7. That's a miss, and then the Saxons fire, and I think they hit 10. That's a -1, so they actually got a hit on these guys. So these guys now need to attack with... Okay, so morale is 8, so that's the same. But we have 1 to 2, so we would be on this table. But we still have this one, right? So we're gonna even that out to the 1-to-1 table again. Let's see what happens. That's a 9 on the 1-to-1 table, meaning attacker 1. They retreat 1 hex. Okay, so we're gonna retreat. These guys will follow if they want, and I'm gonna do it. And since we retreated, we need to check morale. Maybe it's a A1 and we have a morale of 8. No, we don't need to do a morale check. Then we have the other Brandenburg unit. Same thing happens. We have some fire to do first. So they fire the carbines. I don't know. And that's a 9 from the Swedes. That's a -1. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong table here. It should be cavalry table. So let's see now. We have 2. So instead of needing an 8, I need a 9. But I think I rolled above that, so we have done it correctly. So 9 on the cavalry table here is actually a hit on the Saxons. So that's 1 hit, but they will fire back, and they will also fire with 2 strength points. They rolled an 8, and that's not enough. So here we have the Swedes in a good chance to do a good countercharge now. So we have 2-to-1 and 3-to-1 due to this one. The morale is the same. So 2-to-1 in odds. And we rolled a 3, and this, I think it's good. It's good to roll low in this combat table. So 2-to-1 and 3, meaning we go here B2. So the Saxons need to retreat 2 hexes. 1, 2, and these guys will follow. And they have 8 in morale, and they roll the B2. So they're gonna roll a die. If we roll a 1, they will get dispersed. But we didn't. So we are just, Swedes are pressing them back here. But you know what? Now we have some nice flank charge to do. If you attack in any of the rear hexes, these guys will only defend with 1 strength points. That's the rule. And that we're gonna do for sure. So I'm gonna go in and attack. Let's do it like this. I'm gonna attack with Wrangel's regiment and move these guys up to attack over here instead. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now these guys can do the counter charge. So we have the same situation as before. Swedish firing first. They rolled a 7. I think that's a miss. Yep. Then we have the Saxons firing. They rolled a 10. That's a hit. So the Swedish will now need to attack in 1 to 2, but the morale table evens it out to 1 to 1, and they have same morale otherwise. So 1 to 1 in odds, and we rolled an 11. That's not good for the Swedes, I believe. So that would be A1 and R. That hold on, the R means what? Hold on. A1. They retreat 1 hex. And I think R means... I need to check that really quick. Hold on. Okay, it's not super clear what the R means in the rules. It's not really listed in the, the battle effect charts. But I think if I look at R here, it means that they are dispersed. So probably what happened here was we rolled on 1 to 1 and 11. So A1R, they need to retreat 1 and then they get dispersed. I think what happens is these back off 1. These guys come after, and then we place these guys in the dispersed box. It's not a big problem because they will come back in the next Swedish turn. But if this gets filled, then we have a problem because then all these are eliminated, and that's pretty harsh. So a good Saxon attack there. Now I'm gonna go here 1, 2, 3, and 4. These guys will now attack these guys. So 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's it. I think that's all movement we're gonna do, and then it's the battle phase. And I wonder though, it's again not super clear in the rules, but I think all these guys can battle again, really. So we will now have, let's see now, these guys will battle this, and these 2 will battle this, and these 3 will battle this unit. So let's start here actually, because we can maybe hinder those guys from retreating. So here we start with the fire phase, and since Saxons are attackers, they will fire first. We have 2, 4, 5 points of cavalry. We can only fire 4 points maximum, otherwise we need to split it up. So we can actually fire once from the 4 and once on the 1 table. So let's start with a 1 table. That's a 5, that's certainly a miss, and then we have 1 on the 4 table. And then a 7 is enough. No, we didn't hit the Swedes. The Swedes will fire back with 2 points. 7, that was not enough, I think, no. So then we have the battle proper. And remember, this is only worth 1 now, since we have a unit in our rear. So you have 2, 4, 5 points against 1. So 5 to 1 in odds. Nothing from the leader. Nothing from morale from the attacking units. And I think we cannot apply this now since we are not attacking as the Swedes. So it's a 5 to 1 straight off. and we rolled a 9. Pretty high though. So a 9 here would be defender needs to retreat 1 hex. The thing is now we can retreat in any of our rear hexes. We cannot retreat here because we are in zone of control, so it needs to go here actually, and it can do 1 facing change. These guys can pursue and also do a facing change if they want, but I'm just gonna go there. So the Swedes were lucky taking no losses there, and they're now pressed against this swampy area here. Next attack here, we're gonna fire first with 4 points. That's a 6, it's not enough, no. Then the Swedes will fire back with 1 point, and they rolled an 8, it's not enough. So then we have the battle proper, and that will be 4 to 1. No odds, no. 4 to 1. And we rolled a 7. That's a B2. So these guys need to go back 2 hexes. 1 and 2. These guys can follow. Then we have one more battle to do. It's here, so we have some fire to do first. The Saxons start with 2 points. Miss. Swedes fire back with 1 point. Miss. So we have 3 to 1. But we have these cuirassiers here, so we get the morale bonus from them. So it's actually 4 to 1. And we roll a 3. That's pretty good for Saxons. 4 to 1 and a 3. That's a 1 hit and then retreat 3 hexes. But since we only have 1 unit or 1 strength point, it's of course eliminated. And we now move the morale track back 1, so the Swedes are back on 0 now. This is pretty important. And we can gain ground. I'm going to do that with the dragoons. Okay. Interesting start. I think the Swedes need to counterattack heavily here now to bring order to this thing. So it will be the Swedes' turn again. Next time we're going to go to turn 2 because it's done now. So we're going to move the turn track to second turn. And then we're also going to remember we're going to get back these guys. You always get back the half of the guys from this track. During a turn. I rounded up, I think, so we're going to get back this cavalry unit as well. So he's going to come back here and fight. So by that, I think I'm ending this session here, and then from next session on, we're going to do more proper gaming since we had the long intro in this one. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I also hope you will be back for part 2 to see how it goes, because next time we'll clash here, continue the clash here, and we're probably going to see the first infantry reaching the enemy line here. It's going to see some infantry battle as well, some musketry there. Okay, thanks guys for watching, and see you later. Bye bye.